Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. So Liverpool have just beaten Blackburn Rovers by 2-0 in their fourth pre-season friendly of the summer and the final one before they go away on that exciting tour of the US in a couple of days' time. And the standout performer, the headline performer, the man we were all excited to see and the man who massively delivered today was, of course, Naby Keita. Normally I talk about the first half performance first in these videos and then come on to the second half. Keita plays for the second 45 minutes of the game, but he was just so fantastic. He was superb that I've just got to talk about him now because he is a phenomenal player. You know, starting off with just the way that he presses, the higher up the pitch he does it, the more exciting it is, and it doesn't change wherever he does it on the pitch. It's always with the same intensity, the same intelligence, the same will to win the ball back, and the same intent to do something exciting with it afterwards. You know, that's something that I pointed out with Keita before. It's something we saw at Leipzig, something that I think we saw most in the game against Chester as well. When he wins the ball back, it's not just flying into tackles or something like that. It's winning the ball back, and already it's like he's planned a goal out in his mind. He already knows where the runs are going to be made. He knows who to pick out. He knows what passes to make, and he's just such an intelligent footballer, and he couples that with some fantastic technique as well. And you know, the way that he drives forward when he picks up the ball, there was a moment in that half, I think it's the second time he plays through Daniel Sturridge, and believe you me, he did it a lot in that game. There is a fantastic partnership already forming between those two players. It feels like it's fantastic that we're finally seeing Daniel Sturridge with some really good service behind him. I'll come more onto his performance later. But yeah, the way Keita, he picks up the ball and he just drives at them completely. There's no fear there. There's no sort of apprehension of who's going to be behind him or, you know, whether he's leaving space open at the back. He just wants to get the ball forward and create chances. And that's exactly what Jurgen Klopp wants his players to do. I mean, Keita is almost like if Jurgen Klopp could describe his dream player, it would be him. It's like Jurgen Klopp went to sleep one night wishing that he could have the perfect midfielder, and the next day Naby Keita just walks through the door and says, "I'm here, boss." He is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, you've got the pressing, the way he drives forward, the passing as well. Like I said, he sets up Sturridge a few times and it is inch perfect. For someone who people maybe don't see as a creative player and more as like a box-to-box destroyer or even a defensive midfielder or a deep-lying playmaker, when he gets forward, he can pick a man out, and it's the intelligence of the way that he knows which runs to pick out, he knows when to play the pass, and also just the inch perfectness of it and the way he picks them out. It is fantastic. And then again, you know, he's got that fantastic partnership with Sturridge, and the biggest compliment I can give Keita at the end of the day is that he just puts a smile on my face. I mean, I know that game was only pre-season. At the end of the day, the result doesn't really matter, and we're also not seeing many of the players that will actually play a lot of minutes next season. But whenever Keita gets on the ball, whenever the way he controls it as well, there's one moment, I think it's the last chance he sets up for Rafa Camacho with about a minute left. It's this goalkeeping punt forward. It lands right on his boot, and he just controls it and dinks the pass through straight away. And it just makes you smile. It makes you laugh. And it tells you that maybe, you know, it really gives you hope that there'll be something special this season, and it'll be Naby Keita that does that for us. And at the end of the day, smiles, laughs and hope is what we're all in it for. So yeah, Naby Keita, fantastic. I already love the guy, and I cannot wait to see him not just linking up with our top players, you know, Mane and Salah coming back into pre-season training tomorrow, so it won't be long before we see Keita providing service for them as well, but also to see him absolutely tearing up the Premier League. So yeah, back to how things went on in the first half. I'll come on to all the other exciting things that happened in the second half later on. But first of all, Loris Karius started. Obviously, it's a bit of a moot point, this game, for him, because we all know that Alisson is going to be announced any minute now. I've got my phone on notifications, even if Liverpool just announce him during this video. But Karius' Liverpool future is looking very shaky at the moment. The most that he's ever really going to achieve is probably a backup to Alisson. I thought today he looked confident, you know, again, put under pressure by the crowd. Whenever he receives the ball, they're all on his back straight away going, and I thought he dealt with that very well. He makes a really good save as well. Well, not a really good save, but a reasonably nice one with his feet. So that was good to see that he's being tested. Hopefully we see a little bit more of him being tested in the US tour, and we get a better idea of whether or not he might actually be a decent backup to Alisson. I know I've said in the past that I don't really value Karius as a backup. I think he has to be first choice or nothing. But you never know. Things change in football. His mentality might have changed since what happened in Kiev. So you never know. Something could develop yet here. But, you know, so far, it's not looking good for Loris Karius, I think it's fair to say, but a pretty nice performance from him today. And then the defenders, Nathaniel Clyne, for me, I've said it before in these videos, just lacks a little bit of ability in the final third. You know, he gets into all right positions. Sometimes I think he's a little bit too tight in the box. I think positionally, he needs to be a little bit further out wide, because occasionally, you know, the left wingers are going to overhit a cross. It's going to rebound to you there, and you need to be there as a threat. Also, just to stretch defences as well, because the way that he came into the box and tried to get a little bit too close to goal, for me, meant that Blackburn could defend tightly and keep the box packed, and that really stopped Liverpool creating any flowing moves. So I think positionally and in terms of his passing, he is quite poor going forward. That is something he's going to have to work on, because at the moment it does look like he's probably going to be starting on the opening day of the Premier League season, so hopefully he can improve on that a little bit. You've then got Ranier Klavan, one of the potential candidates to be partnering Virgil van Dijk on that opening game of the season, with Lovren almost definitely not being available. I think Jurgen Klopp pretty much confirmed that in one of his interviews today. I thought Klavan, you know, looked okay. There are a couple of nervy moments, a couple of moments where he did use his strength well, which is kind of, I think, what we're looking for a partner for Van Dijk. We want someone who's going to be a little more aggressive and stuff like that. And there were a few good moments as well where he almost drives out into a midfield role to try and put pressure on and win the ball back. So that was pretty good. Like I said, there are a couple of nervy moments there, a few mistakes, so that's something that he does need to iron out. But, you know, he might be stable for the first few games of the season. He is a pretty reliable player. Joel Matip is obviously one that I think people are more expecting to be more likely to be partnering Van Dijk in that opening game. To be honest, if this is an audition for that, he kind of flopped it. I mean, he just looks so nervy. Whenever the ball comes towards him, it's like this ball of lava or something that he's terrified to touch. His arms are flailing, his legs are all over the place. He already looks off balance as it comes towards him. And there were so many moments where his passing was just really poor. You know, he was misplacing it. He was putting his fellow defenders into difficult situations, putting them under pressure from opposition forwards with hospital passes and stuff like that. And it's just something that you don't need to be doing in a pre-season friendly. And Joel Matip's Liverpool career really did take a downward slide last season, so hopefully he can improve it from here. But if that's the kind of performance that he's going to be showing this pre-season, I don't think he's doing his chances of starting that game against West Ham any good whatsoever. And then finally, Moreno, all right, he was his usual self, to be honest. Not too much defending to do. Obviously he's going to have a lot more to do in the US tour, so maybe that's where things might start to have more setbacks for him. But he got forward reasonably nicely. He got into the box a bit more intelligently than Clyne. He was getting some nice balls in. He does lay one on a plate for Divock Origi, but unfortunately he was miles offside. Not the most positionally aware there, but yeah, you know, what you'd expect from Alberto Moreno, essentially. And then the midfielders, Milner was essentially the number 6, the most deep-lying midfielder of the three. I thought he put a decent shift in. You know, he got about well, his usual kind of energy and tenacity and willingness to impress the boss and be a good professional. But at the end of the day, number 6 is not James Milner's position. And I think really he needs to be in that box-to-box role, or even slightly more forward as almost a withdrawn 10, really. I think that's where James Milner plays best. So number 6, not his thing, but nice to see him fill in. And obviously he is a pretty good utility man anywhere on the pitch, to be honest. And then Lallana, given that Milner obviously wasn't so great in the number 6 role, it did mean that Lallana needed to drop deeper a little bit, do a little bit more work in the middle of the park, and I thought he did that really, really well today. He was very much Terrier-like in midfield, the way he showed tenacity, the way he tried to win the ball back. He was always chasing down midfielders, kind of like Keita, but, you know, not quite as good. But, you know, there are plenty of midfielders at Liverpool and across the planet who aren't as good as Naby Keita. That's not a huge criticism or anything like that. So I thought he was nice, and then he did show a touch of class in attack as well, where he has a couple of moments. There's the one where he links up really nicely with Ben Woodburn as well, who was the most attacking of the midfield three, and he clips one and it just comes off the bar, and it's a really nice, clever finish. Again, showing composure in those tight areas where some of the other players in attack, notably Solanke and Origi, didn't really do and haven't really done all pre-season. So that was promising from Lallana if he's to be like our attacking midfielder in those games against deep-lying defences like West Ham's, like Brighton's, like Crystal Palace, all those kind of teams. That's the role he's going to have to play, so he needs to function well and show composure in those tight areas in the box, and he did that again well today. He's unlucky to have his shot straight after that blocked off the line as well. So, you know, he's adding a goal threat as well, which is important from midfield. So all in all, good performances from Lallana. Like I said, he's no Naby Keita, but he is pretty good, and he is very much sort of dampened my concerns about him potentially starting the first few games of the season in an attacking role. And then finally, I mentioned Woodburn. You know, he was the most attacking. He links up well with Lallana for that shot, but I thought in general, he's just not involved enough. And I think if I'm honest, he probably needs to go out on loan or something, because I think the kid needs more regular football at a higher level than the under-23s, because he just needs a little bit more intelligence. He needs to know a little bit more about where he needs to position himself, because obviously he's been moved around a lot in the last few years. He started off as a striker. Jurgen Klopp sees him more as maybe a number 10 or even a number 8. He's played on the wing for Wales and for the under-23s and occasionally for the first team in Liverpool as well. So obviously he's not always going to be positionally spot on, but that's why I think he just needs to move away, where if he's going to be made to play so many positions, he needs regular football to actually gain experience in all of them. So I think a loan would be nice for Ben Woodburn. It's what I'd like to see, and then hopefully he would come back to Liverpool a stronger player, because I think we all know that there is some real talent there. And then finally, the forwards. This is where it got a little bit disappointing in the first half. Origi, again, useless. I've said it so many times before in this videos. I don't want to bang on about him. I don't want to be horrible about the guy, but he just slows every single attack down. Whenever he gets the ball near the box, whether it's out wide, whether it's centrally, you just know straight away that the attack's being killed, because he doesn't make clever decisions. He doesn't get his head up properly. He's just not really an intelligent footballer in those areas. And again, doesn't score goals on top of it, and that's really the only thing you can expect from him if he's not going to be a team player. I've said it every single time in these videos. He obviously does get the tap in where it's offside, but I mean, he's about half a yard out. Simon Mignolet probably scores that, so I'm not going to give him too much credit for that. So hopefully we can offload him between now and the end of the window, but given his performances in pre-season and for Wolfsburg last season, we might actually have a difficult job on our hands trying to do that. And then Solanke, a little bit better than Origi. You know, I thought he did some nice work dropping deep. Whenever he drops deep to receive the ball, it's not like Origi where it slows an attack down. He's always getting his head up. He's got an eye for a pass as well, which is impressive, given that I think when he came in, people saw him as a bit of a lump, a bit of like a Diego Costa type figure, having played with Diego Costa at Chelsea and stuff like that. He is quite an intelligent footballer. He gets in the right positions. He is looking to pick people out. So hopefully he can build on that a little bit more. Obviously, it's a slightly newer position for him, playing in a more withdrawn second striker role. So I think if he keeps on getting experience there in pre-season, he could be a useful asset for Liverpool next season, because, you know, the more positions you're able to play, the more opportunities you're going to get in the first team. If he just sees himself as a backup for Firmino, he's not going to get many games, especially with Daniel Sturridge in there as well, and the potential arrival of someone like Naby Keita who can play striker. So it's nice to see him being a bit more versatile. I think now he just needs a goal. He has a header late on where I think it's a little bit harsh to criticise him, because he's at full stretch and he just can't quite get enough on him. So maybe it's not entirely possible for him to score. That was good work from Lallana as well, to chip in a really good cross to him. Again, really classy work from Lallana when bearing down on goal. So yeah, he just needs a goal to really give him a little bit more confidence, and then hopefully we'll see Dom Solanke fly between now and the end of the pre-season. Then finally, Shea Ojo, not as involved as I would have liked. I thought he still chased the ball down well, did all the things that we've seen him do in pre-season that have been really promising. The way he chases down lost causes, the way he tries to keep the ball in play, keep attacks moving and stuff like that, and keep pressure on the opponents, which is probably the most key aspect of it. I think I just, again, would like to see him a little bit more in the box, and again, when he does get into the box, showing a bit more, a quicker decision-making and more intelligent decision-making, because I think once he does that, he'll get a lot more goals, because when he has all that tenacity outside the box to win the ball back, to take on defenders as well and stuff like that, if he can just add a little bit of final product, he will be fantastic for Liverpool. So yeah, didn't see him much today, but we all know his qualities, and hopefully we can see some more from him between now and the end of pre-season.
We just signed Alisson. I think we might have agreed Alisson, lads.
Liverpool has signed Alisson! Woo! Okay. Reaction special coming straight after this then. First of all, I'll finish off this video because, you know, I want to make sure all the content is perfect for you guys. But yeah, Alisson special coming up. So yeah, second half, I'll rattle through these because I want to get onto the Alisson stuff. Kelleher, I thought he dealt with tough passes really well. Didn't really have many saves to make, but he was put under pressure by his defenders every now and then. And for a young goalie in a difficult situation where, you know, he's not going to get too many minutes, so he does need to impress, I thought he did reasonably well with that. Hopefully we see him make some more saves between now and the end of pre-season, because you never know, he could be a prospect like Grabara as well. You've then got the defenders. Joe Gomez, just all right, to be honest. I do want to see him at centre-back because I think that's where we're really going to see him in the future. And obviously with this kind of audition process essentially for who's going to partner Van Dijk on the first day of the season. Joe Gomez is probably one of the front runners, if not the first priority to start in that position, especially given how Joel Matip's performed over the last couple of days. So, you know, he's not really cut out to be a right back. He doesn't really get forward as well as maybe Trent Alexander-Arnold. So fingers crossed we see him in some more central positions between now and the end of pre-season. You then got Nat Phillips, who I thought actually looked pretty good. You know, his passing does need to be quicker. Well, pardon me. But yeah, when he's on the ball, he dawdles ever so slightly. He's waiting to find the perfect pass. He sort of struggles to get his technique right and shape his body perfectly. So that needs a little bit of improvement. Technically, he needs to build himself up a little bit more. But I think defending-wise, he looks confident, he looks strong, and he deals with pressure very, very well. So that was promising to see. I mean, the defence in general, now we're playing Blackburn, who are now a championship side. We're starting to see them get put under a little bit of pressure. And I thought in that game in general, the whole four of them dealt with it very well. You know, Joe Gomez had some nice moments. Van Dijk, obviously just the usual. He's boss, he's fantastic, he's strong. He never looks like under pressure at all. He never looks like he's panicking. He just looks fantastic, and his passing, as usual, was brilliant as well. I thought Robertson got forward pretty nicely. Again, he defended well as well. And then I thought the way he links up with Keita, when Keita drifted out a couple times to that left-hand side, the pressing that those two put together, I mean, you're just not keeping the ball when those guys are around. I looked at that and thought, teams like Man City, who play a high line and occasionally their centre-backs and their full-backs and stuff do dawdle, are going to get absolutely murdered by players like Robertson and Keita next season. So it was really nice to see Robertson having a sort of pressing buddy on the left-hand side, like he did when he played alongside Lallana in the game against Tranmere. So yeah, promising signs there. I thought the defence in general did perform very well in that second half. We've already gone through Keita. He was phenomenal. He was fantastic. He was a standout player, and I absolutely love him. You then got Fabinho, I thought was okay. You know, made a couple mistakes, a couple of wayward passes, but generally looked reasonably composed. I am excited to see him on the US tour, because that's when he's going to be really, really tested. That's when we're going to start to see his defensive capabilities have to come out. That's essentially why Liverpool signed him. We wanted him to be a bit of a destroyer, really, in defensive midfield. We wanted a bit more toughness, a bit more guile, and a bit more positional intelligence as well. You know, Jordan Henderson, at the end of the day, fantastic player, but not naturally a number 6. So hopefully on that US tour, up against the bigger teams like the Manchester clubs and Borussia Dortmund, we get to see a little bit more of Fabinho's defensive side. But in general, I thought he looked all right, and he is building up fitness for the new season nicely. And then Curtis Jones, just nice, not too much to report. Obviously overshadowed by his two midfield mates. It's hard for a youngster of his age who hasn't got much first team experience at all to stand out when you're playing next to Fabinho and Keita. So I thought he did nicely. There were a couple of moments where he chased the ball down well. He should have really had a goal. There was a nice moment where he picks up the ball right on the edge of the box and he just blasts his shot a little bit. But, you know, I've said on these videos that I want to see him be a bit more direct. I want to see him either go for goal or pick out the final ball a little bit more. So the fact that he's got the confidence to aim for goal from those kind of positions can only be a good thing. And hopefully he does get a goal between now and the end of pre-season. And then finally, I am rushing through these because I want to get onto the Alisson stuff. But yeah, Sturridge's link up with Keita, already mentioned it. It was fantastic, you know, and it's testament to Sturridge as well. We can't just give all the credit to Keita. Sturridge has to make the runs in the first place, and his intelligence with the way he looks to get behind defences is just a cut above some of the other forwards at Liverpool. You know, Solanke and Origi, they're willing runners, they've got the effort, but they just don't have the intelligence and the guile to get behind defences that Daniel Sturridge has got. It's something that you almost can't teach. He's just a natural at it. And then there are a couple of finishes that he scuffs. There are some great passes from Keita that he almost wastes with the way that he puts the ball wide, but then obviously he gets his goal, and I think it is a really, really nice finish. The way he takes the ball on the outside of his boot to put it past the goalkeeper, it's the mark of a confident man. It's the mark of a man who's got bags of talent in front of goal, and the mark of a man who might actually have a bigger part to play in next season than I think we all thought he might do at the start of pre-season. So yeah, then you've got Lazar Markovic, who is still alive, surprisingly. Who would have thought? He's still around, essentially playing this game because I think a lot of the lads have gone out on loan and stuff like that, so there was just Danny Ings is injured as well, so there was essentially just a place in the squad that needed to be filled. So he filled up that place reasonably nicely. I thought obviously he gets his goal, but to be honest, it's not that great. He pretty much blasts it straight at the keeper, and it's only because the keeper guesses that he's going to go for the far corner that it actually gets past him. So not the most amazing finish in the world. I know it sounds harsh to be criticising him after he scored a goal, but that's just my honest opinion. And I also thought positionally he essentially essentially prioritised space over actually creating any threat. You know, whenever you looked at him, he was always dropping really far out to the left, and I know that's something that Leroy Sané has done and got credit for Man City, but the difference is when Sané picks up the ball, he knows what to do from those positions. He knows how to drive at defenders and isolate them and scare them and get at the goal and create chances. Lazar Markovic is not Leroy Sané, and it felt to me like he was just staying in those positions because he didn't want to be put under pressure from a defender. He wanted to be in a position where if he received a pass, he had a lot of time to do stuff with him, and that essentially isn't what Jurgen Klopp's looking for. He's looking for his midfielders to get into the box, to get at the goal, to try and get as many goals as the centre forwards as well. So, you know, Lazar Markovic gets a goal, but to be honest, absolutely no future at Liverpool for me, unless we just look to keep him as an extra squad player if we actually can't sell him between now and the end of the window. And then Camacho finally, tidy, you know, again, another lad who just felt like he was ever so slightly overshadowed by some of the other players on the pitch. He was playing essentially on the same side as Keita and Sturridge for most of the game, so of course they're the ones who are going to get the plaudits, they're the ones who are going to make the headlines. But I thought Camacho was tidy. You know, he has a moment which I did think was really good where he gets down on goal, and I know that he scuffs the shot. He essentially just scuffs it across the face of goal and doesn't really threaten it at all. But the fact that he takes on the shot when it was a narrow angle, the goalkeeper was bearing down on him and he was running very fast. It's a situation where a lot of young players might have panicked a little bit and maybe trapped the ball and looked to find a teammate or anything like that. So the fact that he's got the confidence to just back himself and shoot, even though it doesn't work out for him there, is a positive sign for me from a young player. So I think, you know, he is a prospect, and hopefully we get to see a little bit more of him and maybe a few more goals from him between now and the end of pre-season. So yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag. I thought the first half wasn't that great in all today. We obviously don't get the goal, but there are some standout performances there. I think Lallana was probably the best of, not a bad bunch, but a mediocre bunch in that first half, and then things really did come alive in the second half. That Keita and Sturridge partnership is fantastic. You know, Sturridge has always been a player who thrives off of those around him. In 13-14, it was Suarez and Sterling and Coutinho behind him, and even Gerrard all the way back in defensive midfield as well, pinging those long balls over to him. Where he thrives when he's in like a partnership with Origi back in the day and stuff like that. He thrived when he had Coutinho as the number 10 playing balls into him as well. So maybe now we've got Keita, a player who seems to have an innate understanding that hasn't been taught but is just natural, the way they link up together. Maybe we will see some good things from Daniel Sturridge this season. Fingers crossed, because we all know that he is a fantastic player at the end of the day. But yeah, that is all for today's video. I'll be back very soon for all the reaction to the Alisson signing. But until then, thank you guys very much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter for all the latest updates, and I'll see you soon for the Alisson video. Bye for now.